All right. I think, yeah, there we are. We are live on YouTube now. And we have with us today Mariam Jabara. And I kind of forgot. Are you near DC? I kind of forgot.
No, actually, I'm in Montreal, Canada.
Montreal, my bad. I knew it was East
Yeah.
Coast. But I was like, wait, which major city out there?
Yeah.
Okay, so Montreal, welcome. I'm in Texas, very different weather. But yeah, so a few things that I already know about you. Master's student at McGill University, which, from what I understand, is well, first, it is one of the top schools in the world. But if I were to say an analogy for the U.S. schools, I think it's more like Harvard than say Waterloo is more like MIT, right? And so I think McGill is more like Harvard type.
Yeah, I mean, U of T is also up there. It's kind of hard to make that comparison, but definitely one
Yeah.
of the top schools in the country,
Okay.
especially in the space that I'm in. So it's been a really good experience so far. Feeling super grateful to be here.
Oh yeah, that's great. So yeah, and master's student. And do you mind telling us, what do you study? A little bit more about yourself, hobbies, passions, missions.
Yeah, for sure. So, as you mentioned, I am a master's student here at McGill, and what I'm studying is applications of artificial intelligence in cardiology. So, specifically
Wow.
ECGs to help predict diabetes and prediabetes, which is a really, really cool space to be in.
Mm.
Ties in really nicely with my background in biomedical science. I studied that at the University of Ottawa. So, that's where I was before. And I also minored in computer science there. So, I've always been really interested in how healthcare and technology intersect. And so that's why I decided to study here at McGill in this specific program and doing this project. And yeah, like I mentioned, I'm very passionate about how technology is going to change how we deliver healthcare, the quality of healthcare that we actually do deliver. And it's just an incredible, incredible time to be in this field. I'm also very interested in creative writing, poetry. That's kind of where my passions lie, and also knowledge translation and knowledge sharing. So, no gatekeeping and just trying to make things more accessible for anyone, regardless of what background they come from, which really I think aligns with the values of this hackathon. So, I think it's a really great match. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you so much for inviting me. And yeah, I my mission, I guess, at this stage in my life, in terms of what I want in this career, is to just make technology a lot more inclusive on every axis. So it's been a privilege to come this far and have so many great experiences. I had awesome internships and research opportunities that we can talk about more later in my undergrad, but it's really highlighted how we need to make STEM and tech just a lot more inclusive for everyone. I think it will benefit, the people who are being introduced to this field, as well as the field itself, in terms of the strides they're going to make when they continue to genuinely integrate new perspectives. So that's, yeah, just a little bit about me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool because what? So I didn't know you could use EKGs and stuff to kind of I guess track or predict diabetes and all that. But that
Yeah.
reminds me of a couple things, and this kind of ties in with Canada. But the first thing is I've done a lot of volunteering and mission work in rural
Mm-hmm.
Taiwan, and a lot of these villages they'll have uh, I guess a heart rate monitor, and every day those
Mm-hmm.
will record your blood pressure and all that. And they can't tell you exactly what's wrong, but they can tell you, oh hey, we're seeing random spikes all over the place, versus, oh, you just had one day where your blood pressure is high. Oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
because this thing happened when you woke up, makes sense. But just in general, they can say, hey, all right, maybe now you do need to go see a doctor in the city, versus now you got to come down off the mountains, off the hills every time something comes up. It's like, no, I think you're fine. It's just, this thing happened. So your blood pressure is higher. And then the second thing is I lived with the nomads in Mongolia for a month back in summer 2013.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was fascinating. And I'll talk about that stuff some other time because I could go forever. But one of the really cool things was seeing how they would do similar stuff, kind of, how's their health and stuff, because they might be 3 days away from any even town where they might
Mm-hmm.
even have a doctor. They just might have, like, just someone who maybe knows some local medicine. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of it is kind of, how do they incorporate mobile technology, satellite phones when they're out in the middle of nowhere, which we think is nowhere, but where we rely on roads and signs, they can recognize hills and trees or whatever.
Wow.
So it's just different ways to recognize landmarks. And um, because, hearing about some of the stuff with First Nations in Canada recently, when you mentioned EKG and, tracking diabetes, that kind of got me thinking about how in Nunavut, you probably have a lot of, well, okay, I apologize if I get the term wrong. I remember growing up calling them Eskimos, but I think that's a different group of people. But basically, I was thinking, not just Nunavut, but just First Nations in general. I was just kind of thinking Nunavut because it's so sparsely populated.
Mm-hmm.
But I just started thinking, the stuff you're talking about, uh, it sounds like this is stuff that you could do not just in the cities, but also smaller areas in the populated provinces, but also in the middle of nowhere. Maybe there's a hunting party going out into, I don't know, some
Mm-hmm.
remote island, right? I guess uh, I don't know. Do you know any of
No,
that stuff
that's a really
done?
good point. Actually, I like that you brought that up, because I feel like the way that, technology is intersecting with healthcare right now is making it, in my eyes, I mean, at least what I would hope to see from it is that we can be a little bit more proactive
Hmm.
in diagnosing things a little bit earlier and then getting on top of them before the condition worsens. So, like you mentioned, being more rural might limit your access to certain tests, certain specialties. And so, if we're able to just flag something before typical blood work can do so. So right now there's,
Hmm.
standard blood work for diagnosing diabetes and prediabetes from your glucose levels. But if we're able to look at someone's ECG and see that, the actual structure of the heart starts to change long before the symptoms actually present themselves, for some people. And so if we're able to tell that there are structural changes impacting the function of someone's heart before it's showing in the lab work, then we can get on top of managing those symptoms and preventing it from progressing any further. And yes, as being, more rural, this would be so much more beneficial. It saves a lot of money in the healthcare system. It actually helps, quality of life for the individuals going through this. So I really like that you brought that up.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out, everyone listening, it should be ECG.
Yeah,
I kept saying
it gets mixed up
EKG,
easily.
partly
Yeah.
because when I was a student at Duke, actually even after Duke, I used to volunteer at the Emily K Center, EKC. So what?
Mm,
So yeah, when I heard ECG, and this is embarrassing because I actually did pre med, so I know it's electrocardiogram,
hmm.
but ECG, I'm suddenly just thinking EC, EKC.
No, it's a common mix up. So easy to switch between the two.
See, at least if we're speaking German, electrocardiogram or whatever they say, maybe I'm correct. I don't know. I made that up. But yeah, so ECG and yeah, the stuff you're talking about, it kind of got me thinking it'd be pretty cool. I mean, you might need a hardware attachment, but say here's like the Mongolians do. You have a phone, a mobile phone, then you have a
Mm,
hardware attachment like the square swipe, for cards. And then every day you
yes.
can take your own heart rate. And then you have
Hmm.
this app like the satellite phone stuff, kind of like the villages in Taiwan. You just
Yeah.
text or I don't know, upload to your app, and then you might get a note saying, "Hey, you might actually need to come back from a hunting trip," or, "Oh, yeah, that's fine. Maybe quick chat with a specialist, just make sure. Oh,
Hmm.
yeah, this is just because today you had a really exciting hunt versus, yeah, we're actually worried about this one." Or maybe you had 5 days of exciting hunts
Yeah.
versus, okay, this is a 5-day problem. So yeah, I feel like for you combining biology, tech, and not not just the whole thing, but also getting specific. Um, I guess there's probably a lot of analytics involved, right? And what are your interests? Was this something where tech and analytics impacted your life, so you fell into this, or you just were looking around saying, "I want to make an impact. I want to change lives," and
Yeah.
you know what? This is the way I'm passionate about.
Yeah, so it's sort of the latter, and how I kind of got into the tech and analytics space was, and it's a lovely story. It's a good memory from my undergrad years. One of
Yeah.
my favorite jobs I held early on in my undergrad was working at Apple retail. I started off in the product section of the store. Eventually, I moved to the Genius Bar. I learned a lot about tech when I started working there. I wouldn't say I was quite the techie before working there, actually. I almost felt like I wasn't techie enough to start working there, but Somehow I ended up there. It was an amazing, amazing experience learning about all their products, first of all. But second, it really introduced me to like the freedom that technology provides us. I don't think I had interacted with technology or was even just aware of how much it was impacting my life and giving me freedom to create videos, like take beautiful images. For some people, it's music. For other people, it's gaining access. This is not creative, but it's just an incredible benefit of it, like Apple Health and all the technologies that they've developed and the advancements that they've made. So once I learned about that, just the creativity and like the freedom side that, tech as a whole is really offering people. And then I saw how it was intersecting with healthcare, with Apple Health. The Apple Watch was really big. At the time, it still is, of course, but it was definitely super popular when I was working there. Everyone was wanting to get on it. They were about to release the ECG feature, I think, maybe like a year after I started working there. Just amazing advancements. And that's when I realized, you know what? First of all, I'm really interested in how these things work and, being able to build things, learn the intricacies of them, and then also like be able to help people through healthcare and combining those like two passions. So that's kind of where it all started for me. Once I realized, okay, well, I'm really interested in tech. And I also still love like the biomed side of what I'm learning and medicine and healthcare as a whole. How can I combine them? I just started to take some courses at my university, took Python as my first course, fell in love with programming, and just continued on to finish a minor. And just from there, the rest is kind of history. So it opened up a lot of opportunities for me. And so, like, in terms of how this impacted my life, I think after I learned Python, not even 1 year later, I had gone abroad to Germany to do a internship in computational neuroscience. So it was so quick how many doors started to open for me. I was able to now travel, make new friends across the globe, learn so much. And all of that was because of the doors that tech opened for me. And so, yeah, from then on, I just continued to build on those experiences. I got to work in the consulting field. I got to work as a developer, interned at Morgan Stanley doing that. And also some little bit of work for the government of Canada. So just it really allowed me to like make the most of my undergrad by just using the skill that was so in demand and gaining different types of experience, which eventually led me to graduate school, which eventually led me to realize I do want to pursue a career in research or develop myself as a researcher. And that wouldn't have been possible, I don't think, unless I had learned how to code or gotten into the tech industry. So super thankful for it.
I might have to get some tips from you because I am looking into getting an MBA at some point. Probably, start applying after, at the
Yeah.
end of this year. So, for you knowing that process, I might have to get a couple tips. But yeah, I think it's really cool. Like you said, even just having some experience with Python, a minor that opened a lot of doors. And, for anyone watching, we want to encourage you, if you're not sure what to do with your life, look into tech because at the least it's a way for you to open lots of doors. And if you need the financial flexibility, the financial
Yeah.
independence, this does give you a good way to make a decent amount of money quickly. And
Mhm.
then once you figure out if you love it, you go all in. And if you don't
Yeah.
like it, then okay, maybe you have the money to pay for the grad school program you want or to travel, open your eyes to the world and kind of, just, get a sense of what else is there in the world. We're not saying you have to do tech forever. We're just saying consider it as a means to an end. And if it turns out that you love tech, then stay in it. But then,
Yeah.
obviously, Mariam, in your case, saying, you know what, let me open these doors and use this as a tool to impact all these different areas. So, just want to encourage everyone, don't think of tech as just you have to do tech. Think of it as a way
No.
to open lots of different doors in your own life.
Yeah. I love
And
that
then,
you mentioned that. And
yeah,
and don't think of tech as just coding. If you just don't really jive with coding and you've given it a try, there are so many things you can do in this field that don't require technical knowledge, but you're still involved, you're still making an impact, you're still learning a ton. So I would, urge anyone to really explore those options too if you just didn't necessarily connect with programming itself or software development.
yeah. Yeah, and then I do want to mention something you told me before, because it's not just you doing coding for yourself, but you're also helping to open other doors by you're volunteering with Bridging Borders,
Mhm.
which I had never heard about. Which I guess maybe that's because I'm here in the U.S. But you're saying Bridging Borders is a registered Canadian nonprofit organization.
Yes.
So obviously, for me being on the other side of the U.S., I might hear about stuff in Mexico, but not so far north.
Yeah, no, Bridging Borders is a organization that's very near and dear to my heart. I started working with them, I think maybe in my second year of my undergrad. I was like introduced to them really early on. And I've just loved staying in touch with them and everything they've been doing. They're in 7 cities and 3 countries around the world. They have, various chapters, but they are based here in
Wow.
Canada. And they work at developing sustainable programs and services that address socioeconomic gaps and inequities, especially around education, mental health, financial security, a lot of relief work, which is what I was initially introduced to them with. And now they've actually kind of ventured into the tech space. So they recently started a program, which is an intro to Python course, allowing students to learn Python for free online. It's completely international. I personally, in my group, have students from Paris, students from Canada, like all around the world. It's incredible. But they are an organization I'm really passionate about working with, and so fortunate to be a part of what they're doing, because I can really see that they're making an impact. And yeah, so I'm thankful you brought that up as well, because it's really important for me to, like I mentioned earlier, knowledge sharing, knowledge translation. Like, there are so many things that I learned along my journey that, had I not met that one person who helped me out with that one thing, I might not really be where I am today, especially with my graduate school applications. I had one friend, her name is Nina, huge shout out to her. She was there for me every step of the way, having gone through her graduate school journey already. And so if I didn't know Nina, I'm not sure that it would have been as easy for me to go through that, or I wouldn't have been as prepared to be interviewing for master's positions. So I don't really believe that these things should be dependent on who you know, where you're from, et cetera. So the fact that Bridging Borders is doing this work and opening it up to people all around the world and allowing us all to connect is, yeah, it aligns really well with my values and mission. And it's really special to me.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and earlier I mentioned the Emily Case Center. It was kind of the same thing. It was my junior year. Their campus. The stuff they were doing. I was like, I really want to help underprivileged kids. Just being able to say, here's a community center, gives them a safe spot, and here's some fresh fruits. They eat healthy, and obviously it wasn't quite the same where you're saying here's Python and yeah, actually, I feel like I should take this course too, because I'm coming from iOS in San Francisco, so obviously there was not a whole lot of incentive for me to learn Python, which I did learn Python. Shout out to Dr. Duval at Duke, but Dr. Duval, I apologize, I didn't really keep up with Python much, so yeah, I might check that out myself. It's just constant learning process. And I think it's just one of those things, you're talking about the stuff that, using ECGs to track, someone who might develop diabetes or not, whether it's rural areas or not. The stuff you're doing with Bridging Borders, you're saying, hey, let's make sure, regardless of where you are, you can get the mentorship you need. So you're not limited by where you grew up. It's just, hey,
Exactly.
do you need to get help from this mentor or this mentor? A lot of this stuff is very forward thinking. You're kind of just, I don't know how to describe it. I guess, okay, the term I've been using is the remote revolution. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if I don't know, forefront, vanguard, because I don't know, because you're also not just you're also kind of reaching back to pull people along and bring them along for the ride. So you're not exactly just at the front. You're kind of going back and forth between being at the front of the remote revolution, but also saying, hey, let me help you get into it. So I don't know, I guess prevalent, maybe that's the word.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that. And I really, something that I try to hold as a very high value in my life is paying things forward. Sure,
Mm,
you heard that a lot about what I just said related to like bridging borders and,
yeah.
being aware that I might not be where I am today had people not pulled me along, right? So it's just about kind of closing that circle and paying it forward. And it's, yeah, the remote revolution. I like that term, because it's really like breaking down walls that were preventing people from getting the mentorship that they needed before, participating in things. Even when you told me about what you're doing here, how it's asynchronous and open to anyone and everyone all around the world, like it's built in a way that anyone can do this, whether they have a full-time job, whether they're, you know, a parent or they're a student. Like this is really the future, and it's such a great time to be in this field and to like share knowledge, because now it's just so much more accessible, and so many people are actually participating on these online events, as opposed to before. Maybe there wasn't as much hype, people were just really out in the world and living, but a lot of people have now turned to online to further their careers, their education, just to network. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. It's great to hear you talk about this stuff because, it's clear that, uh, I like to ask everyone what you hope to see for your community. It's clear that for you, it's not just a physical, geographical community.
Mhm.
I mean, it sounds like, for you, community can mean a million different things. So I guess, however you define that, what would you like to see for that community or communities?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. Um, I guess I want to see for like, you know, the global community or anyone who's just interested in making a change in their life, exploring this field, or just growing, um, that, you know, they find a place for themselves in tech, and they truly do feel like it is a field where anyone and everyone is welcome. And also, I hope that they learn through their journey here how to express their ideas through tech. I feel like I say this a lot, and it only came to like my consciousness recently, and I figured out how to articulate it. But I realized that being in this field, if you approach it in the right way, I guess, or
Mhm.
um, in the way that I was about to describe, it's really a freedom of expression. Like if you have the capability to build things, you learn how to program, and you can, you know, take an idea from your mind and bring it into real life. It is freedom of expression. And I hope that anyone who stumbles across tech as a field learns that, and they learn that it's not just coding and making a ton of money. It's like you have this tool that allows you to create, right?
Yeah.
It's a really creative field, aside from being technical. So I just think that that's really incredible. And I hope that as a community, people find that in this space. And, you know, like I've mentioned several times in the talk, that, you know, people who are venturing into this space are welcomed, and information is not gatekeeped, and that they are just able to get the help that they need to grow, in ways that they want to, without, you know, facing barriers. So I really hope that all the work that's being done for diversity inclusion, that it really comes to fruition in the next couple of years, and it just becomes a very genuine and authentically safe space for anyone to explore.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I think um see it's kind of hard to describe these things because it's still kind of so recent, but yeah, just to be able to say uh you can with the internet, with tech, it's
Mm-hmm.
we've mostly thought of it as being very technical, and like you said, it's very creative. Whether it's using Instagram or editing apps. Almost anyone can try to become an influencer, and we're not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing. It's just something you can do because it's very creative. Just like how you can then say, well, let me build my own apps and be technical. At the same time, social media, regardless of how you like to use it or not like to use it, it's just another evolution in communication. Back when we went
Mm-hmm.
from here's a town crier to now we have this thing called writing, and then printing. Then I think Morse code was the next big breakthrough. Then radio, TV, and now just messaging apps and stuff. And stuff like Zoom, Teams, Google Meet, FaceTime. Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's not just tech. It's not just being technical. It's not just being creative. It's also a way to express yourself, convey yourself,
Yes.
communicate, and get it. Yeah, it really gives a lot of communities a voice that
Mm-hmm.
maybe they had one before, maybe they didn't, but it's not being drowned out so
Yes.
tragically anymore.
Exactly. It's an amplification, right?
Yeah.
I love that you said that. And one other thing that just came to my mind about like what I would want to see for this community as a whole, and I think we're really seeing it now, is the emphasis on like maintaining overall wellness and health while working in the space, and kind of moving away from that culture of overworking yourself and burning yourself out. Because I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people might be intimidated to look into tech as a career, because it seems to be really on the go. There's a big theme of hustle culture here, and it can seem a little cutthroat and like a bit much for people at times. But what we're learning now, especially after the pandemic, is that no, actually, it's possible to have a good work-life balance in this field. Organizations are actually making so many changes to the way they do things to support their employees in doing that. And even if you end up starting your own company, working on your own project, you can be the driver in maintaining that like balance for yourself. So I really hope to see that moving forward. Mental health, wellness, physical health, all of that is carried really highly when we're talking about tech and how it is as a field, and not something that we see a lot of burnout in the field, or people tend to be really stressed. Of course, that's going to always be the case, but I just hope that we continue on this path of emphasizing work-life balance in this space, because I think it really just makes you a better worker at the end of the day. Like you said, it's expression, creativity. You will be so much more creative once you are balanced. And so it's just nice to see that kind of change, and moving towards that more balanced place, because I think we're seeing a lot of really beautiful things come from that.
Yeah, definitely. A healthier population is a happier population, more productive, and not trying to say now go hustle, but just saying, you're more efficient with your time. You can get
Yep.
stuff done that you need to get done much faster, much more effectively, and then go on to other things in life. Like, let me go run a mile, or you know what, I want to create this video, or maybe I want to try to build some side gig. So, and in your case, you know, working with Bridge and Borders, and yeah, I think a lot of it really is, yeah, this is a great chance for a lot of us to try to create that balance for others, but also to find our own balance. So I guess to close out, looking a little bit more at my event, what would you like for participants to gain from this hackathon, from Data Analyze?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think the number one thing, especially with online events and things like that, is to really take advantage of the network of people that are here and participating with you. Don't be shy to reach out to anyone that you come across, and just ask to do like an informal, like virtual coffee, have a virtual coffee with them, and just really try to make that something that doesn't seem as intimidating. Sometimes reaching out to someone, it feels like a cold call or cold email when we're online and you're not face to face with the person. We're missing a lot of social cues. And even though we're, 2 years into this remote thing, it still can be a little difficult. But if you're going to prioritize anything in an event like this, it's build genuine connections and network. And so even outside of your project, if you come across anyone else who you find interesting, who's also participating, you want to know more about their journey in tech, what got them interested, network, not for the sake of like getting a job or having an end, but just do it in a genuine way. Just get to know people, listen to them, hear their stories, share your stories, right? Amplify your voice, and really take advantage of the fact that this event is connecting people all around the world. And also, don't be afraid to try things and ask questions along the way. That is the only way you're going to learn. So if there's anything you can do, just really don't quiet that like curious voice in your head in a space like this, because this is the place to explore those questions, ask them, talk to people, find an answer if they don't have an answer, and just, take your ideas all the way. So that would be my advice.
Great. Thank you so much. And if anyone wants to connect with Mariam, we'll have some contact information in the video description below. And of course, we would like to support Bridge and Borders, so there will be a GoFundMe link. Please consider donating. And it's okay if you don't have money. It's not just about money. If you're able to donate time and effort to help out, that would be amazing as well. I think, it's really just about finding what works for each person and, contributing in that way. So if you're saying, yeah, I'd like to talk to people, uh, great, we can do that. But if you're more comfortable just saying, hey, Mariam, I'd like to ask questions by text on LinkedIn or something, feel free to do that. We're just trying to do our best to make everything as smooth, accessible, and comfortable as possible for everyone. So, if you feel like I need a safe space, I need to talk to a specific person, we'll do our best to help with that. If you join our Discord, we'll have mentors, or if you're just saying, you know what, I'm just gonna hop on and just, start talking like Scotty is, like Mariam is, it's not that all of us are highly extroverted doing this all the time. It's just sometimes we decide here's a time and place to do things a certain way. Here's a time and
Mhm.
place to do things another way. So, hopefully all of this helps everyone listening. We hope you enjoyed this talk, Mariam. Feel free to reach out to us. Feel free to reach out to Mariam and connect with Bridging Borders and even donate. So with that, Mariam, is there anything you'd like to close out with?
Yeah, thank you so much. I really want to express how thankful I am to, be here having this talk with you, and I'm just amazed by what you're doing. And I just want to give a shout out to you, because I
Thank
think
you.
I can really sense your passion for this. And so it's just an honor to be in this space, with you and everyone else here. And yes, of course, like you mentioned, anyone who needs to chat or just wants to know anything more about what I talked about, reach out to me. And yes, definitely check out Bridging Borders.
All right, there you go, everyone. One more time, please do consider helping out with Bridging Borders, whether it's donating or volunteering or both. And yeah, Mariam is great. We look forward to having you again in the future, Bridging Borders, maybe in the next event in February.
Yeah.
We can try to work something out. So hopefully, this helps with everything you're doing with Bridging Borders, with your master studies, and I will see you around.
Thank you.